Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity weapon showcase. And today, I am going to be showing off my main weapon, my favorite weapon from Breath of the Wild, and I'm happy to say that in Hyrule Warriors, they are astoundingly good. And this whole video is going to be explaining how to use it and the best way to go about addressing enemies, different types of enemies, using this fabulous, wonderful weapon. I love this weapon so much. Okay, so the thing about the Claymore type weapons, and the reason why I've used these for so long, is simply because the focal point of playing through Age of Calamity is just identifying the most immediate threats, getting to them, and then deleting them off the face of the map with every single tool at your disposal as soon as possible. You'll find that this is a recurring theme with these videos moving forward, but the Claymores handle this so much better, in my opinion, in comparison to a whole bunch of other weapons in this game, and a large part of that is because of the core gimmick, which we're going to get into as I explain the moveset. So, the thing about the Claymore is that the typical movesets, whenever I talk about the terminology of Warriors games, whenever I say like combo or strong attack, I usually refer to that combo or strong attack in the order they were pressed following regular attacks. So if I say that something is a combo 2, it means that the strong attack is the second button that I press. In this case, a combo 2 looks like this. Rise up into the air. So the kind of things like that, rising up into the air, in the air for every single character in the game, is that if you hit the enemy in their head, what's going to happen is you will expose weak point gauge temporarily. And with the Claymore, you can go for 4 regular attacks, or when you're up in the air, you can do a strong attack to get you back down immediately. So, I just show you the gimmick. The gimmick of the strong attack is you create EX versions of your strong attacks if you replace a strong attack. So in the case of, let's say, want to do a combo like this, instead of doing a regular spin, I do 3 giant spins, and then a big strong attack at the very, very end. Very, very useful, very powerful, and the good thing about these moves is that for the entire duration of these EX animations, you will be immune to all forms of hit stun, and you will take temporary damage in the form of those white hearts that you see in the top left corner of the screen. This is very, very important because since you're able to shrug off enemy attacks, you can actually interrupt enemy attacks by use of certain combos with the Claymore. So quickly going over the moveset, I already showed you the combo 2, combo 3, 2 hits. As you can see over there, I can armor through any of the moblins attacks. The combo 3 that I showed you, the spins, is very good for building up special meter. Building up special meter is very important in this game since that is one of the sources of exposing weak point gauge. Here's the combo 4. The EX version is 3 giant thrusts followed by a giant strike, compared to the regular version, which isn't nearly as impressive, but still pretty great, I guess. And then, of course, there is the combo 5, which is going to be your bread and butter. This puts you up into the air, and like I said, you have a few choices. You can do 4 strikes in the air, stall for time for the Sheikah Slate to recharge, or a last-ditch attempt at hitting the weak point gauge if the combo 5 failed to do that in the first place. The combo 5 is going to be your main tool for breaking gauges and just doing overall damage because of how great the range is. It's something you'll be wanting to use very, very often. And then finally, there is the combo 6. This is an important combo to learn and how to master properly, because if you don't use this properly, you may be kind of strapped for time. There are some scenarios where getting through enemies as soon as possible is important, but in the case of the EX version, this is by far the most impressive move that this particular weapon has. You have this whole jet stream followed by one sonic boom at the ending. The sonic boom actually creates a, the final strike resulting in the sonic boom forces a weak point gauge to be exposed, and just because of how long the animation is, you can armor through at the very beginning until the very ends of this. You will have that super armor and being able to shrug off any hits. And again, like I said, if an enemy or a boss is preparing an attack during that, all you gotta do is just end that animation. You can end it whenever you want. and then that will result in them being interrupted and exposing the weak point gauge, which you can follow up, which is what you're going to see in the demonstration. Overall, the Claymore is a very, very good weapon, and you might notice that there are the accumulation of all that temporary damage. So just use a strong attack, heal that right back up. And the running strong attack is a great way of kind of just getting through the maps and then building up what little meter you can. It's not quite as good as like the dash attack from Fire Emblem Warriors with like Camilla and Minerva. You won't be able to get massive kill counts without any effort whatsoever using this unless you're playing on easy mode, but it's a great way of getting around, and it's a great way of also capitalizing on any exposed weak point gauges, as you'll see here. You also cancel the dash attack into an EX, freeze them, and then go into a combo, and you're going to be seeing me using this technique a lot. The Claymore overall is one of the most fun weapons in the game in my opinion, and as you can see I'm also wearing the 100% completion shirt because the Claymore was just that fun. I wanted to get through the entire game using this particular weapon, and you can do that, and hopefully after seeing this video, and you guys are still early on your progression, you'll be able to do it too. So without further ado, let's go ahead, get to that demonstration. Okay, so before I begin, I just also want to point out how everything looks before you start a mission. I'm going to be playing Hold the Line, recommended level 68, and I'm going to be playing the game on very hard. As far as I can tell, there isn't that much difference in very hard other than the fact that enemies have a little bit more HP and they do quite a bit more damage, but because we're using the Claymore is extremely safe just due to the fact that you can armor through the abilities, and no matter how much damage they do, as long as you're armoring through them, you'll be able to heal it all back. When it comes to things like cooking, I'd say that damage tends to be king the majority of the time. Damage is kind of what you want to look for when you are developing your weapons, as you can see here. This is still subject to change, the game is still fairly new, but as far as I'm aware, damage is the way to go when it comes to your seals on your weapon. I've also given more attack speed. I like the feel of having more attack speed, especially with a weapon that's, you know, naturally meant to be slower than the spear or the sword and shield. So I'd say specifically for the Claymore, higher attack speed is the way to go. Being able to build up things like special charge rates, like I said, the focal point of getting through Hyrule Warriors successfully is just identifying the key threats and then dealing with them immediately, and that's exactly what we've done here. Same thing can be said about cooking, like I mentioned. Most of the time I would like to stack up on damage, but for the purposes of today's video, because my weapon's already super powerful, I want to kind of tip the scales a little bit more in the enemy's favor so that you guys watching can just have a better understanding of what the overall flow and loop of combat looks like with this particular weapon. So let's head out. Alrighty, so the reason why I picked this particular map is that there are just large stretches of running, and that's kind of an intentional thing for me because I want to kind of explain why I make the choices that I do, as well as what options are available, not just for the Claymores, but just for your characters in general. There's so many different ways of exposing weak point gauges and dealing with them in this game, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring out for these particular videos. Whenever you meet up with an enemy, like here we have an Electric Moblin. Electric Moblins are tricky because it's hard to find elemental weaknesses for them. Here we go. But generally, whenever I see an enemy that has like a glyph that requires the use of a stasis glyph, or any of the glyphs really, I usually just prime a combo 6 and then fire off with those combos, so that by the time he gets out of the hit stun, I will be ready to expose another one. Okay, so as you can see, I armored through, and the thing about the combo 6 is that you can easily aim it, so it helps you build up your meter. Just hide in the corner for a bit. Hide in the corner of a heap, and then kind of use this as an opportunity to build up your meter. We don't have very much time to dilly-dally in this particular map, just because there are going to be enemies that are heading for the allied stronghold. So when that happens, again, I'll just show you how I generally go about this. I like to do a couple of extra regular attacks in the air, since it gives more time for my stasis to actually recharge. So again, we got a combo 6, wait for him to come out of his daze. When he's about to attack, that's when I go for another follow-up. Unfortunately, I messed up the timing on that one. I should have been faster. I should have been a little bit faster with activating the stasis when doing the EX strong attack. If I did it in the mid-air, I think I would have been able to freeze him, so we can go for an attempt at that one. But if you do fail, and you see that you don't have any weak point gauge to work with during the stasis, just prime another combo 6, and then try to repeat that process again. Now, one of the things about the Claymore that you need to look out for is Octoroks. Octoroks are very annoying in this game, more so than in any other game, simply because you have all this temporary damage, and if you take too much, and you take an unexpected hit while not during an EX animation, you are going to lose all that HP, and that's going to turn this from a fairly straightforward kind of scenario to a very stressful scenario, and you want to avoid that as much as you can. Obviously, there are large stretches in this particular mission, so there is plenty of time for us to heal, but the use of a special will also allow us to heal as well. Here we go. See if he goes for any attacks. He's going to jump back. That's fine. So again, cancel into that stasis. You get plenty of time. Follow it up with a combo 5. And that is more than enough. You want to stack up as much damage as you can before that weak point gauge, just because all that damage that you do, it stacks up and it'll change the animation that results in an insta-kill. Okay, so I don't see anyone heading to the allied base in the center. Obviously, the design of this particular map was for people that want to switch between 2 characters. That would make it a whole world easier, but instead... Alright, got that guy exposed. See, if this Silver Moblin still had a sliver left, the 4 regular attacks I do in the air will still be able to hit that weak point gauge. So, again, it's like a last-ditch attempt. Okay, we got a Guardian. Guardians are bad news, but luckily the turret Guardians are the ones that are very, very low in terms of HP. So I can do one special, fire it off, and this should be enough to kill the Guardian. And now I can just focus on the Hinox, which I got hit by. So again, don't panic too much. There we go, armored through. I could have done that a lot better, but the nice thing about the armor, though, you can rely on that to keep you a little bit safe, and it doesn't interrupt any of your attacks. In any other character, this would be a very, very risky business. So here we go again, trying to go for another loop. Once he gets out of that daze, immediately, I'm going to learn from my mistake from last time. Fire off that stasis a little bit earlier. And that is going to be an insta-kill. I have 1/4 heart left, but that's okay. Just do not get hits, otherwise I have to do the recording all over again. Okay, I see that there are Silver Lynels. Silver Lynels are a lot of fun to fight. Unsurprising, coming from someone that's played Breath of the Wild for too long. Before I address the Lynels, quickly build up what little special meter that I can here. Get ourselves ready. Okay, so fighting against the Lynel is going to require a little bit of thought. Most of the time, the best thing to do is have special ready, have special handy. If you do not have special handy, what you can do is try making use of your elemental rods. If he's in a patch of grass like he is in right now, you can use the fire rod. Okay, so whenever I fire off a special, you saw that I went for 4 hits. Generally, 4 hits is the best number to go with. 4 hits before going into a stasis. The reason why I do that is because, again, getting as much weak point gauge broken as soon as possible is important. We are down to a very, very low HP, but that's okay. As long as I play these next sections properly, it should be fine. He's gonna go for another thrust. The reason why I got hit previously is because... simply because I didn't fire off the animation fast enough. And you'll see that was a mistake that I made just now, too. That's okay. Again, don't worry too much about the mistakes that you make. Just move on to the next one. I don't believe there are any enemies inside the middle outpost based on this map. And I gotta address that next Lynel. Oh no, there's a ton of them. Okay. They're all here. Everyone is here. This could be... No, wait, no. There's no Lionel nearby. We're fine. Okay, freeze him. Just finish the combo. If you break as many gauges as you can, you should be able to hit all of them. I have no qualms about firing off my specials, because we could always just rebuild them later. Okay, we gotta address the Lionel that is over on the west side. And this is where we really gotta be careful here. So I made nothing but mistakes earlier, but if you're playing on an easier difficulty, it won't be as bad. This is a chance. Okay. So again, firing off that stasis while you're doing the EX strong attack after exposing with the combo 6. We gotta be very careful about this. You know what? What I could do is I could just pull back a little bit, prime the attack. I don't know if this is enough. Let's find out. Okay, that was enough. What I should have done, actually, is that if I used a combo 5 where I sent myself up into the air, I could have gone that additional sliver by doing aerial attacks. So we go for another bomb. Let's see what we got here. Should be enough, I think. Like I said, he always has that additional sliver left. Using aerial attacks will completely get rid of those. Alright, I see that there is another enemy in the center, which is good. That means I don't have to walk all the way back in order to address any immediate threats. Because I think if I lose any keeps for this particular mission... Oh, almost messed up the ordering on that one. Here we go. Yeah, at that amount of health, I think one weak point smash should be enough. Alright. One thing that does help me alleviate the stress a little bit of having such low HP is knowing that checkpoints are fairly generous in certain maps. Okay. Moblin one at a time. There are 3 enemies in there, and I don't want to fight against all of them. What I could try doing is fishing for some super here. And then immediately focusing down the Guardian. Gotta be very careful how I choose my attacks here. Oh, I didn't finish off the Moblin, surprisingly. Alright. Again, so another thing about the combo 6 is that it's a giant projectile. Giant projectile that you can fire off, and like I said, that final shockwave that you sent out can expose gauge. Okay, so if I was a smart person and not stingy, I could just use a fire rod, but let's pretend we are stingy. Let's pretend that that's too scary, using fire rods, because we're very stingy with our resources, like in, like in Breath of the Wild almost. What I could do is just, again, prep that combo 6. And again, we have that armor. As long as the animation is starting and happening, all the way from the beginning to the middle to the end of the animation, you are completely immune to all forms of hit stun. The Fire Moblin and their allies have begun an assault. It's funny, because we were about to do the exact same thing. Just make our way to the bottom right corner, and we are good to go. And I think that should be enough, capturing all the outposts. I like this particular map because it's more reminiscent of classic Hyrule Warriors type scenarios, where you have to protect your own allied base. There we go. Again, like I said, that is a regular sequence that I do the majority of the time. Okay. Very easily done, and like I said, I usually try to do some attacks in the middle, or I try to do a lot of attacks, just so I can stall for time. get that stasis glyph recharge. Obviously, I have full upgrade, so it's gonna be a little easier for me. But for everybody else, see that Guardian's gonna try to go for some attacks. I gotta be careful how I do this. Like, never engage a map that you know that has Guardians in it unless you have special. Especially with the Claymore. The Claymore, you don't really have that much in the way of, like, parrying. In fact, you don't have anything. You can't parry. Otherwise, though, yeah, again, 4 hits. Probably get some extra damage out while we can. And then finish them off with a weak point, and that is good to go. All of them are kept safe. Perfect. But yes, that is kind of what I enjoy. You saw I made so many mistakes early on, but I can pretend that they were intentional. Give myself that additional buff from my weapon to do some more damage. But yeah, that pretty much does it though. 10 minutes for getting 4. Generally speaking though, just understanding the overall combat flow of when you're fighting against key targets and knowing exactly what to do. Even if you make mistakes, it's important to be familiar with all the different abilities that the Claymore has, being able to improvise on the fly, and I think that's what makes this weapon stand out so much. Now, another thing that I really liked about the Claymores, and you've seen me doing it a lot too, is just how easy it is for you to expose a weak gauge, and not just exposing the weak gauge with the combo 6, but actually being able to follow it up with the use of stasis, and I think that's what makes it so valuable, and it's the reason why I've been using this weapon so much. Anyways, guys, I think that's all I can really say about the Claymore. Well, at least for this video, I do want to make a couple of other things, kind of just focusing on how overall game flow goes with Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity. It's a very new game. There's a lot of information that we still don't know in regards to what works most optimally, but I think this has served me pretty well on the hardest difficulties, and kind of sharing that playstyle with you guys is very valuable. So, yeah, I think that's all I can say. Moving forward, though, I just want to point out, for those guys that are still sticking around, yeah, I do intend to kind of cover this to the same extent that I covered Fire Emblem Warriors and Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition, going through, essentially, like, for a lot of people that are new to this game, showing them the best of each moveset and how I tend to use them, and if they're the characters that you're interested in and you want to use them to carry you through the rest of the game, if that's what you like doing, then that's kind of what I'm hoping to do here. Other than that, guys, thank you very, very much for joining me on the very first Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity character showcase. And the next thing that you're going to see is a bunch of other movesets and all the different features that they have, so that you guys can have the best time possible saving Hyrule from the clutches of Calamity. Until I see you guys later.